Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. This is Littleton Twilight, and to start things off, it was pretty cool since I won the Colorado Crit State Championship earlier this year. I was able to get a call up.
First at Louisville, first at City Park, and your current Colorado State Crit Champion, Jonathan Carey.
So that was definitely a cool experience, and it was also going to be really helpful being able to start from the front row since we literally had like 110 people in this race. So without further ado, let's jump into the start of the race. A little bit of a learning experience starting from the front rows. People do not wait for them to say go. They just start going when it's like 3 left on the countdown. So kind of got a little slow start, and then didn't get clipped in well, of course, and so I had to kind of roll off the power here and then get back on to get clipped back in. And kind of my strategy for this race was going to be to try and stay roughly around 30th place. But coming into this first turn, there's just like no lights basically, and like completely dark. I think they had like a light outage or something like that, but and it kind of got, I think, sorted out a little later in the race. But that was definitely really sketchy, and it was definitely a learning curve racing in the dark for the first time. I've only ever raced dark daylight, so this was not only a new experience in that way, but this is also my first like ACC national level crit. And I've raced against some of these guys on, some of the top guys like Noah Granigan and Danny Summerhill in local races, but that's completely different when there's like a bunch of guys like that. So I wanted to have a good showing for this race. I figured if I was able to get into the top 20 at the finish, then that would be a pretty good result for my first kind of race like this. And things start out pretty good. I'm still really kind of sketched out by, especially on this straightaway and then this next turn. It was just like so dark, and also getting used to these like shadows that would always look like someone's trying to come up and pass you, but then nothing ends up happening. So I would say it probably took me about half of the race to kind of finally start feeling comfortable racing at night, which isn't too bad since it's a completely new thing. But you can kind of see my heart rate is already pretty high in the 180s. But I'm feeling good about my position. I'm roughly 25th, 30th, somewhere around there. And so I don't want to really be any further up, because that's when, people are sending attacks, and, you're having to like do a lot more surging versus if and you can see there's some people going off the front already, versus here kind of like in the bubble. It's there is a little bit more fighting with people to try and like maintain your position, but by and large you're able to kind of keep it a little bit smoother, and then you're also not like super far back to where it's super surgy and chaos. Skipping ahead, we are about 10 minutes into the race, and I've kind of started moving a little further back, and not really out of a choice, but I was having some rough times with cramping in this race, and this is kind of when all of that ended up starting, and then just kind of progressively got worse. And as we come onto the start-finish straight, there was a crash on the previous lap, and you can see all these riders getting back in, but like all of these guys were originally behind me, but they let them in pretty early, which was really frustrating, because now instead of being like 30th place, I'm like, not 30th place. But yeah, the cramping started, being pretty bad, and I don't know what exactly happened, but the kind of like day before and day of, I like lost 4 pounds of water weight, which is obviously not good at all. So I had something going on health-wise, but not exactly sure what. So now I'll just start fading to the back to see if I can kind of work through these cramps and start feeling better. We're now about 20 minutes into the race, and now I've moved, basically faded all the way to the back. And so now I'm probably like 80th, 90th place. And so right now I'm just really, any chance I get, trying to drink as much as I can, and then also to just try and keep it as smooth as possible. But the race is fast, and also the thing with being further in the back, it's surgy, which isn't good either. So sometimes I'll try to like open up a little bit of a gap going into a turn, so then I can close it through the turn to try to like smooth things out as best as possible. But yeah, I'm really, really hurting. And honestly, I was like, I might have to drop out of this race. I've never felt this bad before. I've had, normally I'm also not even someone that will cramp, but like on the occasion that I have like a little bit of cramps, like it's nothing like a big deal that affects too much, and kind of work through it pretty quick. But this was not like that. About 40 minutes into this race is kind of when I'm like, all right, time to try to start moving up. I'm probably roughly around like 80th, so it's going to be a difficult task because this is a 60-minute crit, so it's about 20 minutes left in the race. And obviously you can see it's like single file right now and pretty strung out. We've skipped ahead about 5 minutes, and I've probably made up about 20 positions. And so now I see on the right my teammate Jeremy, and I yell at him that I'm on my wheel, but I don't think he heard me. So I kind of come up on the inside of him here so that he could see me and be like, okay, because kind of the plan is to, at the end of the race, if I'm out of position, to just try to move me up so I didn't have to use too much energy. And we just as two teammates in this race, so it's Jeremy and then Michael's a little bit further back here. And so I'm like, all right, if Jeremy's able to move me up and provide a nice draft, then maybe I can kind of get in position. But I can't really see the front of the race quite yet. It's pretty far up there. We're still like in about that 60, 70 range, most likely. It's kind of hard to tell here. But yeah, I mean, we have like about 12, 13 minutes left. So, and things are just going to get obviously faster. So it's really, kind of now or never to start moving up. And now Jeremy's going to come up on the inside of me, and he's going to now start trying to help move me up. And so I'm just going to try and follow him through this next little bit and see how far he can bring me. Ended up kind of stalling out a little bit here, moving up. So now I'm like, okay, I'm probably gonna have to start moving up on my own here. And so I'm just gonna try to rail these corners as fast as possible. And now I'm starting to see like some of the bigger team guys, like ButcherBox is here. There was a Rainstorm rider as well, and there's Austin Outlaws. So Cliff, and so I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel pretty good here, and where I'm positioned. And now you can kind of see I'm starting to actually see the front of the race finally. So, I'm like, I figured with still having like cramping issues and stuff, like, and you can see I'm kind of like 30th place now. So I'm in a pretty good spot, but I'm like, all right, I figure probably really not going to have much of a sprint for the finish, because I feel like as soon as I would, it's going to get super fast at the end. But I'm like, all right, if I can kind of maybe be top 30, potentially top 20, it's something I'd be pretty happy with, considering how the race has gone so far. But unfortunately, about like a minute later, my front computer mount that also has my camera on it started rattling loose. And this was a problem in a race like a couple weeks before this, and I thought I fixed it, but you can see there's a lot of bumps in this race, and it just kind of ended up jarring loose. And so this ended up becoming a real distraction. But I mean, it didn't really affect anything. But I was just like so annoyed that this ended up happening again. So now I've moved up a little bit further, and like I have Cade Bickmore in front of me, and a bunch of other really strong guys. So I'm like, all right, in good position here. Kind of loses wheel through this turn, but I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like I'm in the race. I'm like relatively in position, so not like too bad for my first national level race like this. But then a little bit later on this lap, coming through this turn, there ended up being a crash, and it's kind of hard to see on my camera there. But I had to really, ended up skidding a lot and had to really check up a lot of speed. And then unfortunately, I think I kind of ended up tensing up a lot during that. And then it was just like the cramps just came back crazy. And I was just like, you see here, I'm just starting to lose power and open up a gap. And I'm just like, I cannot put out any power right now. So I ended up dropping kind of this wheel, and then basically kind of how everything played out for me is the whole field basically ended up coming by me over the course of the next few laps. I just literally could not get over 300 watts, and when it's going this fast at the end, you obviously have to be doing a lot more than that. So really, really disappointing how everything ended up playing out, because I think I could have done a good result for me, which would have been roughly top 30 or something like that. But if we shoot over to the live stream footage, we can kind of see how things actually played out from the front here. So you can see that Rainstorm is on the front, and they have a few guys up there. And I think the Blazers are on their wheel. And you can see, super strung out here. I'm somewhere off in the distance there. And right here, you can see Blazers is kind of overtaking Rainstorm's train. And I think Blazers only had a few riders, so they didn't have as much to work with as Rainstorm, I don't think. Yeah, I think that's Tyler Williams on the front and Noah Granigan in his wheel, and then I think Ben Oliver, but Danny Summerhill coming up on the outside, leading out Alfredo and I think Jordan Parra. And so he ends up kind of overtaking their train coming into that second to last turn. And then once you come out of the last turn, it's less than 200 meters to go. So you can see, Rainstorm's 1-2, and then I think that's Ben Oliver who was in third place. And they don't give a really great view right here, but Alfredo Rodriguez ends up taking the win over Ben Oliver, and then I think Jordan Parra was third, and then Danny Summerhill fourth. So exciting finish for them. I wish I could have been somewhere near the front instead of suffering at 200 watts riding by myself for the last lap. It was definitely a really disappointing race for me, but I was glad to get one of these under my belt so that going into next year, when I plan to race in a lot more of these national level ACC crits, have a lot more experience, and I think I'll do much better than this race ended up going. But definitely subscribe if you enjoy watching these videos. It really helps grow the channel. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Second overall, so